Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Podcast with four different flavors coming from four different gamers. I am your host Shane Eisterhold, and I'd like to welcome my co-host Nick Irwin, Patrick Smith, and Russell Rowe.
Hey Patrick, where can they find us?
Well, the first place you should check out is our website at ittastes.different.com. This is the place where you can subscribe to all of our streams and connect to all of our social media sites. You can also find us on Facebook at It Tastes Different. We're also on Instagram at It Tastes Different PC. And then last but not least is Twitter, where you can find us at It Tastes Diff.
What's for dessert? We throw the popcorn at the TV during the 2020 Game Awards. Today we are going to discuss the 2020 Game Awards. I don't even know how to describe it because it was a real bag of tricks because there was so many things in there that were right and wrong. There was a lot of surprises. There was things that are you really kidding me moments. But before we begin, I just want to say happy birthday to Patrick Smith over there. I didn't get to tell him the other day when his actual birthday, so happy birthday. And for your birthday, I am going to throw it over to you.
All right. So what we'll do is the way we'll do this is we'll kind of start with the winners, and then we'll kind of talk about the premieres and stuff like that, and then maybe our thoughts overall. But I'll kind of breeze through some of these categories, and then we'll kind of stop on some of the ones and get our takes amongst the group. None of us are real big esports fans, so the esports stuff I'll just kind of, like I said, breeze through. If somebody wants to mention something, feel free to just kind of like interrupt me, all right, guys? All right.
All righty.
Sounds good. So let's talk about who won Best Esports Team. It was a League of Legends team called G2 Esports. So those guys won Best Esports Team. Best Esports Host was Shox, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her name because I will butcher it. And then Best Esports Game was League of Legends. I guess that one's still very popular. I don't watch a lot of esports, but I'm a little bit surprised that it beat out like Modern Warfare and maybe even Fortnite for that matter. Anybody got any thoughts on that one before we move on?
Yeah, honestly, I would agree with you. I'm surprised it wasn't one of the shooters like Overwatch or, like you said, Fortnite, because, I don't hear much about League of Legends, but I hear all the time about those other games, Fortnite and Overwatch and so forth. So right. I was kind of surprised too.
Yeah, Overwatch wasn't one of the options,
right?
But
no, Overwatch was an option. Fortnite wasn't an option.
No, it was Call of Duty Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, CS Counter Global Offensive, Fortnite, League of Legends, and Valorant. Those were the five nominees for that category.
Oh, yes, I'm looking at the wrong one. I apologize.
So,
yeah. No, I'm not really that surprised that League of Legends won. It's it's got a big esports community, and so I would expect it to continue to be in the winner. I was kind of surprised that Fortnite, or maybe even I don't know about Call of Duty, but maybe even Counter-Strike, or even Valorant, being that Valorant's so new, may have not have taken over those spots. But being that League of Legends is a game that's been around for a long time and been an esports game for a very long time, it's not surprising that it won.
Right. Yeah. Because if you look at a lot of the esports, most of the awards have gone to League of Legends. When you consider that the esports best esports team was team, and then now we got the best esports game, and then for the best esports event was a League of Legends event, the League of Legends World Championship 2020. So, there's three things in the esports category that was just League of Legends. And then the best esports coach was not a League of Legends coach. It was a CSGO coach, Danny Zonic. Danny Zonic is his moniker, and then Sorensen. And then for the best esports athlete was a League of Legends player, and it was Shadowmaker. So, League of Legends got a lot of the esports categories there, so I guess it's still pretty popular. Out of all the esports games that are out there, the one I played the most of is probably League of Legends, and Russ most definitely as well, because I used to play a lot, and he played a lot more ranked games and matches than I ever did.
Yeah, but what's funny about that is that I love how they say esports athlete. I kind of go back to that movie Benchwarmers. Athlete. I didn't know athlete had 3 syllables, because that's all I want to use when you talk about an esports athlete.
Right, exactly. It's not like any of us are in that group, but most of the esports athletes are not like physically athletic. I guess it's video game. I guess you gotta have some strong mind.
Mental athletic.
There you go,
yeah.
mental athletic.
Yes. But
Yeah.
it also looks like
I'm benching 380 on my mentals.
It also looks like his moniker is Showmaker. I think you said Shadowmaker. So.
I did say Shadowmaker. Yeah, it was Showmaker. Hio-Su, which is Showmaker for him. So, yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, that game is extremely popular in Asian countries, especially Korea. Huge in Korea.
All right, yep. So, esports, not a whole lot of us are big into the esports stuff anymore. At least, I mean, we play them, but I'm not a big fan of watching them myself. So, cool. So we'll move into some of the other categories now. So we got Best Debut Game was Phasmagoria. And out of the titles that were in there, I think a lot of us can kind of agree. The four of us have played quite a bit of Phasmagoria. Gosh, Phasmophobia. I'm thinking of a 1990s video game, Phasmagoria.
Yes, you
guys remember Phasmagoria?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Yes, I do.
That was a point-and-click adventure, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So Phasmophobia. The four of us played a lot of Phasmophobia. Definitely looking forward to seeing what that studio has in the works. Scary games are usually not up my alley, but, we all thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I think it's because we did nothing but laugh at each other.
Right. And being the best debut game, when this came up, Phasmophobia I could definitely, that's the one I picked as far as thinking that it would win because it soared up there in the charts on Steam and, especially around the Halloween and in October, it was the most streamed game. And so, yeah, I mean, out of all these games, Carry On was a really great game, but I don't think it kind of got the reception that I think it should have, or maybe it did, but it didn't seem like it. Mortal Shell was a great game. This one we reviewed. I think it's a fun game, but again, it's not one of those ones that was really just kind of talked about for weeks on end. It was kind of talked about for that time it came out, and then it kind of died off.
Yep.
Raj,
yeah.
I've never heard of that game, and Roki, I've never heard of that one either. So
Roki, I got that on my TV. Oh, it's Roku.
That's a Roku.
Roku.
Phasmophobia, though, in my opinion, out of that list, is probably the one that's the most unique. All the other ones have kind of been done already. Mortal Shell is Dark
Souls.
Dark Souls, yeah.
Right.
And Carry On is, we've done games like that.
But I'll give Carry On credit. It was definitely a little more unique just because you were the monster this time. And that was pretty cool.
You eat, you grow. It was good.
And it was fun, though. It was a fun game.
So, yeah, definitely one of, like I said, it was, in my opinion, one of the more unique games in the title group. So it was an easy winner for me as well. The next category they had was Content Creator of the Year. I will admit I don't follow a whole lot of content creators on YouTube. Valkyrie won. I guess she's pretty popular. But I don't watch a whole lot of video game, like people playing games. I'd rather play them myself. So Valkyrie won.
From the list, it's kind of funny because from the list, the only person I know is Alana Pierce.
Alana Pierce.
The rest of them,
that's just from IGN. That's the only reason.
Right. It's
true.
exactly from that. It's from IGN. The rest of them, Valkyrie, good for her, but I've never heard of her. Never even seen her content.
Right. So, I mean, probably good content. Obviously, you get a lot of viewers to get on this list. They all probably make pretty good content. Might be worth checking out any of them. If you're looking for stuff to check out on YouTube. So, best multiplayer game. I wasn't that surprised out of the list, but the winner was Among Us. I think the four of us keep talking about we should all play together. It's just getting in there a time when we're all free. I mean, it beat out. I don't really consider like Animal Crossing New Horizons that big of a multiplayer game. Most people play by themselves, but I guess they invite people to their islands. But I could see it beating out Warzone and Valorant. But Fall Guys was kind of interesting because Fall Guys is hugely popular.
Yes, it is. There's so much people, have created so much content around that game that it's really surprising. And honestly, when we were watching the awards, I didn't even realize Animal Crossing had multiplayer. I did.
Yeah, it does have a multiplayer component. I was really surprised. Really, like you guys said, Among Us and Fall Guys were the two that I would suspect to be the winners, one of the two. I was kind of surprised that Fall Guy wasn't, but Among Us is played a ton, especially online, especially with streamers and YouTubers and stuff. I mean, it's always played. So is Fall Guys too, though. So, I bet you the voting for that was probably pretty close.
Yeah. Among Us is like the flavor of the month right now. I see so many videos on it and so many people doing different things on it. So, I mean, we will probably eventually at some point get in with a big group of people and play it, friends and other stuff like that. So that one, okay, I could see that one out of that group.
I would like to say something. I'd like to add something. I want to say congratulations to that studio. I mean, we were watching, we saw them get a little emotional, but like to have a kind of an indie studio kind of come out of nowhere and make those games that everybody seems to play, I kind of enjoy that a little bit. Do I know anything about Among Us? No, I know very little, just because it's, I'll wait till we all play it and stuff like that. But, Innersloth, I mean, congratulations to them. What they've just, it's just really fun to see these kind of stories come through on occasion.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Russ, because, I mean, think about it. That little studio beat out Nintendo. They beat out EA. And I can't remember who it was that
and
makes
Riot Games.
Riot Games.
And Riot Games, yeah. I mean, that's awesome. I like to see those little companies get their dues for working hard and and really pulling out something that's apparently really good.
Yeah, and some of the funnest games we've played have been independent games.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you consider the Phasmophobia one guy.
Right. Yeah, one guy. Yeah. And, that game's a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun playing it. And, I think we'll probably end up playing it again, especially if they shoot out more updates for it and add more stuff to it and come back to it and kind of fix some of the bugs they had in there.
Yeah.
Right, yep. So then the next category was Best Sports and Racing, and this one surprised me a little bit. I'm not a big sports or racing fan guy, but Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 beat out Dirt 5, F1 2020, FIFA 21, and NBA 2K21. So that one surprised me a little bit. I was not expecting that.
Definitely considering it's a remake.
Right.
And it's not a remaster. It's a remake. This game it's fantastic.
I was really surprised, though, that it beat out, especially Dirt 5 and FIFA 21.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those
I'm surprised
games are
it beat FIFA.
Huge.
Yeah, exactly. FIFA is huge. Out of all these categories, the FIFA one was the one, because that game, when it came out, it's all people talked about. It's all people played and all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
Well, and we're looking at a world audience with a FIFA soccer game versus the other. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people around the world that are playing that game, but we as Americans don't understand how popular that game is in Europe and stuff like that. So,
That's right. That's world's football.
Right.
And Dirt 5 is pretty fun. Me and Shane have Dirt 5, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really good arcade racing game. I truly out of the list, though, I wouldn't have expected Dirt 5 to win. I wouldn't have expected Tony Hawk to win. We have Tony Hawk as well, and Tony Hawk's a lot of fun, and it's kind of takes us back to our past when we used to play Tony Hawk 1 and 2 back on the PlayStation. But I would have expected FIFA or NBA 2K21 to win.
Yep. Agreed. So the next category was Best Sim/Strategy, so Best Simulation Strategy Game, and that one kind of surprised me as well because the winner was Microsoft Flight Simulator.
I was surprised by that too because I don't really look at that as a sim or a strategy game. It's Flight Simulator. I mean, it's a simulation.
It's a simulator.
All right. So it beat out Crusader Kings 3 and XCOM Chimera Squad. And I will admit, I didn't play as much Chimera Squad as I did the rest of the XCOM series stuff, but I did play a little bit of it. It's kind of an interesting concept. Desperados 3 was okay, but it beat out Gears Tactics and Crusader Kings 3. I really thought Crusader Kings 3 would have won that one.
It's really weird with the pairing that they put up here because all these games besides Flight Simulator are all strategy games.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, really.
I mean Crusader Kings is a dynasty simulator.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's more
strategy. I would consider.
Flight Simulator has very little strategy. I mean, you're really just flying a plane. I mean, I guess
it's very little sim either.
Being
you're
able
just
to land
looking
it,
at stuff.
I mean, getting off the ground is I mean, I played Flight Simulator and it's beautiful and it's fun. It's fun to just be able to pick like a location of somewhere you've never been, and because they use the satellite landscaping to kind of get the accurate landscaping of the world. So you can pick anywhere you want to, any like major airports and some of the smaller airports to fly out of, and so you get to see different parts of the world that you may have never seen before, and it's supposed to be, close to, if not 100% accurate in most places. So that's really cool. But I mean, taking off is not difficult. Landing's a little bit difficult, but as far as strategy goes, there's really not much strategic stuff. I know though that game does have some like little mini games that you can do and stuff. So maybe that's where the strategy part comes in. But I don't know. I just thought it was a really weird pairing.
It's not
like
sim
what?
and
Not
strategy.
crashing?
The category is best simulator or strategy, so it's not.
Right, I understand that, but I'm surprised it didn't have another simulator, right? Because that's like the only simulator that, from looking at the category, the games, that's the only one I would say, okay, that's definitely a simulator. Crusader Kings does have that simulation, but it also has a lot of strategy. Whereas Flight Simulator has basically no strategy; it's all just sim. So I'm surprised it didn't have some other sort of simulation.
Probably not a whole lot else they can throw in there in that category.
Probably not,
That's
especially
true.
because it is for 2020. So I don't know what else came out this year that would fall under simulation.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to Best Family. This one was no surprise to me because it was pretty popular with my non-gaming friends and family, and that was Animal Crossing New Horizons. Most people who did not play games played this that were in my family. So, I don't know about you guys, but I saw that one coming. I mean, it beat out Crash Bandicoot, Fall Guys, Mario Kart Live, Minecraft Dungeons, and Paper Mario.
Yeah, I don't think there was a doubt.
Yeah, I think every one of us here probably owns that game. Russ, I think Bella owns that game, right?
Yeah, she owns it. She loves it. I mean, I keep thinking to myself, well, maybe I should just try it out just a little bit just to see what the gimmick is or the fun is. And I bet you I probably would get sucked into it as well. I mean, it's a very family friendly game. So yeah, no surprise. It's easy stuff. Minecraft Dungeons was pretty good. We did try that a little bit. It wasn't too terrible. But Animal Crossing anything is going to win pretty much everything because that's got a huge following.
Well, yeah, when you consider non-gamers play Animal Crossing, like my non-gaming girlfriend plays Animal Crossing. That's how popular that game is.
I have Animal Crossing. I love Animal Crossing, and it's for Best Family, it definitely fits there because anybody can play that game. It's so laid back. I mean, you're just on an island. You can do whatever you want on there, decorate it however you want. You find bugs and catch fish and find fossils. And, it's just a leisurely time. So, perfect.
Yeah, I never could get into those. I mean, they're adorable and everything, but
Cool. So let's move on to the best fighting. That was a no-brainer. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate. It beat out quite a few games, but it's the most popular, in my opinion, of the fighting games out there. I know plenty of people who played Mortal Kombat. I know less people who played like Grand Blue, One Punch Man, and the other one. So, Street Fighter 5 was pretty popular, but not as popular, in my opinion, as Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah. The Street Fighter, limiting it to the PlayStation was not the smartest thing to do. That really weakened its sales and everything. Because that game is not what it used to be. Mortal Kombat 11 has continued to evolve. Street Fighter never really has evolved much, so that's definitely why.
It's just nostalgia.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It kind of did in 4, but 5 was more of the same. And I agree with you, Shane. Like just bringing it to PlayStation, I think was more of a detriment because fighting games are universal, right? You can't be, console specific with. Or platform specific with a fighting game, because it's understandable if you have something like Last of Us or something like that that's going to be on the Sony side or Halo that's going to be on the Microsoft side. Mm-hmm. But something like a fighting game, everybody wants to play that, everybody wants to be a part of that, and if you just stick it to one console, you're going to have players that are just going to they're just not going to care about it anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas Mortal Kombat is out on everything. Right? So even mobile phones where, if that's where you want to play Mortal Kombat, you can. And you can play it on the Xbox and PlayStation and PC and everything. So, that's a no-brainer on that one as far as the winner.
Right. So, easy win there. Best role-playing game, I was torn between this one. I will honestly admit, Final Fantasy VII Remake 1. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake, good game. But I think Yakuza Like a Dragon was better, in my opinion.
I can't. I don't think I can disagree with that. I really can't. The Final Fantasy. Well, you guys. Our very first podcast was I told you how I felt about the remake. It was it was filler Fantasy 7. It was just a bunch of filler, but Yakuza was, God, that game is so fun. It's so good. It's so tight. I mean, you and Russ just, destroyed it, played through every bit of it. I don't have time to finish everything, but yeah, I would definitely agree. The Final Fantasy was not better than Yakuza.
Yeah, it was a toss-up. I'm not disappointed that it won, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm really surprised with this one as well. I mean, kind of and kind of not. Final Fantasy VII has a lot of nostalgia, but I mean, all these games are good. Genshin Impact I've only played a little bit, but that's very popular. Wasteland 3 was really good. I would probably stick it more in the strategy simulation category, but I was kind of torn between Final Fantasy, Persona 5, and Yakuza. Those are 3 great RPGs. So really, it just comes down to like any one of those 3 deserves to be the winner. I think personally, those are 3 great RPGs, and if you're a fan of RPGs, you should play all 3 of those, and probably all 5 of the list.
I think Persona 5 is just because it was the Royal Edition. I mean, it wasn't like it was anything new. It was just a complete type game. So in my opinion, it shouldn't have probably not been in there. But I agree. Persona 5 is an amazing game and love it.
Well, I think there's so much new stuff to the Royal Edition. It's almost like a new game. I haven't played it yet. I've got it. I haven't had a chance to play it yet. But the way I understand it, there's so much content change and stuff to it that it's almost like a new game.
Right. Yeah.
And but Russ, if you're looking for a great RPG, any of those.
Yeah. Oh yeah, any of them. And Russ, I mean, out of those, how do you feel about Final Fantasy beating out Yakuza?
Final Fantasy is a beautiful game. What they did with that was gorgeous. I mean, it gave those people that played 7, that loved 7, that were like dedicated Final Fantasy people, it gave them a reimagined version of that game, and that's wonderful. But when you go to something that is a full game, ready for complete release, the whole 9 yards, Yakuza has to be the clear winner. Persona 5 had that time to kind of beef up and get to that royal version. Geisha Impact, that one is also a mobile game, so I don't know. That never sways me. And then Wasteland 3 was solid. It was a very solid game. But I agree with Nick in saying that it feels like it's more of a strategy game than it was an actual role-playing game. So for that's the reason why, beyond the fact that I absolutely love Yakuza, and I feel dumb, but I'm going back and playing some of the old ones. I know the combat style is different, but I was like, this story for that was so fun. It was so far beyond a couple of games that we've played recently that is what I want now from every game. Between that one and Ghost, those 2 games there, the storylines of these games are phenomenal, and I forgot how badly I missed that.
All right, yeah. So cool. So we'll move on to next title that we're all a little sore on, the best action-adventure game. Last of Us 2 won. It beat out some very heavy hitters. It beat out the Jedi Fallen Order. It beat out Miles Morales. It beat out Ghost of Tsushima, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Ori and the Will of the Wisps. In my opinion, the contenders for that one, and maybe Miles Morales probably would have been a contender in my opinion if it would have been out earlier. But Ghost of Tsushima, in my opinion, was better. But as far as the action-adventure side goes, I enjoyed every last minute of Ghost of Tsushima, and I felt it did lots of new things where I felt like The Last of Us 2 was just The Last of Us 1. I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of new stuff. So. Yeah,
it's if I was to organize that list, Last of Us Part 2 would be pretty much at the bottom of out of all of those contenders. Ghost of Tsushima was just easily the game of the year, in my opinion. I don't fathom how.
This is action.
How I know, but I mean, it's like the best game. I mean, it has everything. The action adventure. It did so many new things, interesting things. It's such a great game. It's hard not to just gloat on this thing for an hour, but it definitely should have got more credit in that category than Last of Us.
I would agree. Yeah, in my opinion, the action adventure portion should have been Ghost of Tsushima. I don't know where I'd put Last of Us Part 2. I mean, I did enjoy half of the game.
Yeah.
Even as much complaints I've had of the Fallen Order, I'd probably put Fallen Order ahead of that. And Ori and the Will of the Wisp was just beautiful. So I don't know where to put that game in this list. It's kind of an odd placement in this list, if you ask me what Ori and the Will of the Wisp is.
But yeah, it definitely feels.
It feels more platformy.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I think of it as in the category of action adventure, and I would agree 100% with you guys where Ghost of Tsushima is my number one as far as action adventure. And I think of the effect of did I have a good time throughout the entirety of the game through the action and the adventure portion of it, right? To going out and adventuring and the action that came along with it. What game strikes me as having the best time? And Ghost of Tsushima is definitely number one. I would think for me personally, I haven't played Spider-Man Miles Morales, and it kind of, for Miles Morales, it kind of sucks that it's on this list. I understand it's on PS4, but I think a lot of people like us are waiting for the PS5 to play this, and since half of the people didn't get one, it's kind of hard to put that into a category and say, hey, what do you think of this game? I don't know, we never get to play it. So
you mean PS5 that doesn't exist yet?
Yeah, that
it's the Ghost.
It's the Loch Ness monster or Bigfoot of consoles.
I've seen images.
I would put Ori and the Will of the Wisps as my number two. Just as for the action adventure part of it, it's a beautiful game, and I loved it from start to finish. The adventure, the action, the combat, and the adventure going through the different mazes and various areas. Probably, Jedi Order after that, and then maybe Assassin's Creed. I don't know. Assassin's Creed's whatever. But yeah, Last of Us 2 Part 2 is definitely towards the bottom of my list for that.
Well, I have to agree with pretty much everybody. I just sat here and listened because I knew that we're going to have some heavy opinions already on this one. I mean, we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times. Ghost is a fantastic game. I think I like Nick's point a little bit more poignantly in that fact of which game out of these give you the best action adventure. Valhalla has streaks of falling asleep. Miles Morales, it's a game in which we don't know anything about because the PS5 doesn't exist. Or I mean those games there, like you said, that doesn't really belong in the list. And then Fallen Jedi Order was a great, solid game. But I still don't feel like, even as Star Wars fanatic as I am, it was on any level that Ghost wasn't. And then Last of Us, between the RP and stuff within it, I almost want to say that's a role-playing game, almost. But in any case, that's my opinion on it, and we won't harp about this subject too long.
All right, yep. So yeah, we'll move on. But yeah, I would say I enjoyed the other games in the list immensely more than Last of Us Part 2. I enjoyed 50% of Last of Us. So let's move into Best Action Game. I will admit I did not play this title. Hades won by Supergiant Games. I have not played it. It beat out Doom Eternal, Streets of Rage 4, Half-Life Alyx, and Nioh 2. It probably beat out Half-Life Alyx in my opinion because Half-Life Alyx is not obtainable by a large portion of the gaming world because it's a VR game. So. Yeah. I think that hurt them. And
it's a high-end VR game. It's
it's not like you could put it on the low-end Quest or something,
right.
So I think that hurt that because in my opinion, if Half-Life Alyx probably would have came out on everything, it probably would have won. But in my opinion, it being on VR only game probably hurt it because out of the four of us, it is outside of the reach of the four of us, and we're all four avid gamers.
Yep. Right. Out of all the games here, Doom Eternal, Hades, Half-Life Alyx, Nioh 2, and Streets of Rage 4, that's for best action. That's a hard one here. I've played all of these except for Alyx. I like all of them, and I probably would love Alyx as well, but I've never been able to play it. And like you said, Patrick, it's almost unattainable pretty much. So. Hades is a really fun game. I have it, and it's a blast to play. I love Doom Eternal. I love Nioh 2, and I love Streets of Rage 4. So this would be really, personally, in my opinion, any of them could be best action, and I'd be fine with that. I think they're all probably, except for, again, Half-Life Alyx, I'm sure it is, but I haven't played it, but I'm sure they're all great action games, and really they all deserve to win best action, really.
So
Yeah, I
what
would
would
agree
you
with that.
what would you say Hades is most like, a game that I may have played?
It's like and I did do a Let's Play on our YouTube channel for this. So if you want to see the game in action, you can go there to our YouTube channel. It Tastes Different on YouTube and watch me play it. But it's like a roguelike adventure. And, those roguelikes typically are kind of thin. But this one's a lot of fun. It's very accessible. It's not really, I didn't run into any bugs or anything. It's a lot of fun. Even though you're recycling through the same areas again, you get new powers and you can change up the powers and stuff like that. You run into different mythological gods and you can obtain whatever power you want from them and you kind of build upon that. And then there's as you go through the different rooms, you can choose which door you want to go through, which will have a certain whatever it is on the other side, either currency or some additional power or something like that. And you build your character as you go through these different floors of Hades, basically, to get to Olympus is what you're trying to do. So it's a lot of fun. It works really well. It plays really well. The controls, everything, and Supergiant Games, who's done some of the other games in the past, what's that one? I can't think of the name of it, but they've done a lot of other games in the past and that have done pretty well. And this is probably their best one to date. It's a really good game. It's a lot of fun. I will kick it up occasionally and play through it and just have a blast playing it. So it is a really fun roguelike dungeon crawler.
Gotcha. Cool. So the next category is innovation in accessibility. And I will admit that I don't know a whole lot about this category, so I can't really speak to any of the games that are on here. But the winner was Last of Us Part 2. It beat out Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Grounded, Hyperdot, and Watch Dogs Legions. I don't know a whole lot about the accessibility in gaming. I don't have a reason to be honest, have to follow this. So
I don't
really
understand
have
their criteria for it.
So it's software and hardware that is basically allowing features and technologies to help gamers that are disabled gamers, if you will. Somebody who can play a game without the use of thumbs or without the use of hands or anything like that. So accessibility means making sure that video games are accessible to a wide range of people. So that's what they're using as category. And I don't honestly keep up tabs a whole lot with that. I mean, we all see the commercials and stuff like that, but outside of that, I don't really follow these studios or these innovators that closely to see what tech they're putting out and what games they're developing for and stuff like that.
So for Last of Us 2, I would agree with this being the winner. I don't really pay attention to that either, but I have looked into because people online talking about it and stuff. And The Last of Us 2 is probably the most extensive list of accessibility options I've ever seen in the game. I mean, they have everything in there. So, as far as a winner goes, that makes perfect sense that Last of Us 2 would win this category because there's just a ton of options for accessibility in this game. I think even when this game came out, that was one thing that was kind of touted too for this game. So, there's just a ton of options for it. So, based on the other ones, Microsoft and they have Grounded on there, which, I don't know about, they have some accessibility options and stuff, but I mean, more games are getting more accessible and that's great. Microsoft came out with that, one controller that they have, I can't think of what it was.
Yeah, the big one that has the giant button and the giant D-pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has all
Looks
the
like
ports
the
on the back of
Xbox
it.
Series S, but with two pads.
Yeah, it has all the ports on the back that you can hook up paddles and foot pads and, all sorts of stuff for accessibility things. And that's great. And the more they come up with the stuff, the more accessibility options that games give players. That means that anybody, no matter what their, what accessibility they have, can play.
Yeah, awesome. Which means more gamers, which is what we want. We want more people playing games.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
So the next category is best augmented reality / virtual reality, and the winner of that was Half-Life Alyx. I really can't speak to anything in the list because I don't own any VR or AR system, and it beat out Dreams, Marvel's Iron Man VR, Star Wars Squadrons, and Walking Dead's Saints and Sinners. The next one was Best Community Support. That one was Fall Guys, the Ultimate Knockout. I don't know about the community. We had a podcast recently on toxicity in video gaming, and communities are where a lot of this is, so I stay away from them. So it beat out Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, and Valorant. So, I mean, I guess they have a pretty good community, is what it says. So, best community support.
I guess so.
The best mobile game was Among Us, which, Among Us is big in VR. It beat out Call of Duty Mobile, Genshin Impact, Legend of Runeterra, and Pokemon Cafe Mix. And then we have best indie. And this was Hades. Hades won this one. It beat out Fall Guys, Carrion, Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer. So pretty good. We talked about the indie developers. Really glad to see some of these smaller indie developers getting recognized. We got best ongoing. And this one has to have been the funniest announcement in the Game Awards, but it was No Man's Sky. That guy was in the middle of drinking his soda and was just like, you could see the sheer surprise on his face. I mean, he beat out Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone, Destiny 2, and Apex Legends. The look and the little bit of speech that he gave was just hilarious. You could see he was completely unprepared and did not even realize this was going to happen to him.
That was probably the most genuine
response
moment of the night. It was just
outside of the other group, the other indie developer we talked about.
Oh, for Among Us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real nice to see, again, like Russ was saying earlier, to watch this little indie dude just, conquer these multi-billion-dollar companies. I love that.
Yeah, it was almost like he was like,
no,
I have no chance of winning this, so I'm not even prepared.
Yeah, he didn't even have a speech prepared or nothing. He was just like, huh? And he was like, what? I won?
I should have put on pants.
Drinking his soda when they called his name.
He's like, they just told me to show up at this time, and I was here, and then next thing you know, I had to speak in the meeting.
Yeah, that's probably the most cursing I've seen in the game.
Yep.
But I mean, No Man's Sky has, it's turned itself around. I mean, it's done a 180 from what it was when it released. It released and it was good when it released, but it was released with a lot of the things that they promised not there, and they delivered on those promises and expanded on that now. I mean, they've brought in a whole bunch of new stuff. They brought all the promises they said they were going to, and they've expanded on that. And so, yeah, I mean, good on it. It's a fun game. We've all played it, and we've all played it together, and it's a fun game to play. So
the next was Games for an Impact, and this is one that it's like for a thought-provoking game or pro-social meeting or message type game. And the winner was Tell Me Why, and I will agree with it in this list. I mean, I've played Spiritfarer, which it beat out. I have not played Kentucky Route Zero, but I've heard that one's good. If Found and Through the Darkest of Times. So Tell Me Why. We've all played it. We've reviewed it. I thought it was a good game. It had a message that it was delivering, and it was a good game. I think we all came away with a positive review on that one.
Yeah, my only complaint was it was a little too CW TV show, but the overall game itself.
That's the point of
became
the
very
the
interesting.
Topic, though. Well, I mean, that's the point of it, though. It's a game that has a thought-provoking game, or has a meaning pro-social message or something, a meaningful pro-social message. So, and that's what, when you consider the CW, they're shows with a lesson. Yeah,
It's like the old days when we used to watch Full House and stuff. They all had Who's the Boss and everything. They always had a message at the end.
Right. Or G.I. Joe at the end.
Or G.I. Joe, right. So, I mean,
Don't do drugs.
Tell Me Why I think it was a great game. It started off a little slow at the beginning, like in our review, like we said in our review, but I think in the end it came full circle, and it was a lot of fun to play, and I'm glad that's one that we reviewed. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best thing about us doing what we do is we're playing more varied games that we wouldn't typically play, and it's been a great experience with that.
Right. Yep. So next we'll move on to probably another controversy category for us, which was Best Performance. And Laura Bailey won this one as Abby. And I'm a little bit disappointed that she beat out Ashley Johnson as Ellie, and also Dasaku as Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima. I honestly thought those two were better than Laura Bailey. I thought Laura Bailey's performance was way over the top and too much, but that's just my opinion on that one. The other people was Logan Cunningham as Hades, and then Jeter as Miles Morales, Najee Jeter. I didn't play it, so I can't comment on his performance.
Yeah.
Which, so I can't really comment on that one. But in my opinion, Jin Sakai in Ghost of Tsushima was awesome. I mean, his feeling was conveyed through the acting, and the same thing with Ashley Johnson as Ellie. I mean, It got to the point a little bit too much towards the end, but Laura Bailey was just too much from the word get-go. I don't agree with that one, but that's just my opinion, and I wasn't on the voting board.
Yeah, and that's not really a knock on her. It's
No.
She was doing what she had to do. I mean, that was part of the script. That was part of the story. I mean, she did a fine job, but you're right. It was just there was much too much at times. But yeah, I would agree with the I can't pronounce his name, the guy who did Jin Sakai. I think he probably should have had it followed up by Ashley Johnson, because Ashley Johnson was phenomenal in the first one, and she was just as good in the second.
Cool.
I mean, yeah, within this category here, they're all pretty good people. They're good actors. These are quality voice overs. I think just because of our love for Ghost, I think that's where I lean towards that. Not to take anything away from the ladies at all. They did a great job. And Last of Us has always been a very good cinematic type of thing. But Ghost was just a different game, a different variation of a story that maybe we have seen before, but we've also seen Last of Us before. So, this is a tough one to comment on because I'm selfish in the fact that I like Ghost so much.
Yeah, we all agree with you there, buddy.
So we're getting into a little bit more of some of the ones that we're not going to agree with them. So like best audio design, Last of Us Part 2 beat out Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Ghost of Tsushima, and Resident Evil 3. And I don't get this one. It's recognized as the best in-game audio and sound design. And I don't know, but I cannot imagine, I can't think of a single thing in The Last of Us Part 2 that just kind of like, with audio that just, like, made me go, wow. But I remember playing Ghost of Tsushima, and even the audio through the controller when you do the swipe, so the wind guides you, the wind coming through the controller and guiding you, and you can literally almost feel the wind blowing at your back, looking at the screen and hearing the controller and the sounds. I don't know. To me, that's not best audio design. I don't know what is. It's recognized in best in-game audio and sound design. Ghost used sound way better than Last of Us Part 2 used sound, in my opinion.
By far.
It's Last of Us 2. It's zombies and people shooting people, attacking people. I don't know what they did in the sound world that was just so amazing, that beat out these other games. I mean, like Doom Eternal had an amazing soundtrack. Great soundtrack. Ghost of Tsushima used sound and audio in an awesome, and I can't even get the words out to the way that I felt that the audio was used in this game, but there's just something about the audio, the arrows, all this kind of stuff that just, they did audio very well.
Yeah. I can't, like we've said before, we can't really speak for Half-Life Alyx, but I think of the two for best audio design would go towards either Ghost of Tsushima or Doom Eternal. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, like you said, with all the audio stuff and everything that was used in that. And then Doom Eternal's got like one of the best, just hard-hitting soundtracks and audio cues and stuff in that game. Like, and that's the way the game is meant to be developed, is that, you want to hear all that audio in Doom because it's supposed to be gory and, kind of out there and outrageous. And so they really amp up the audio in it. And plus the soundtrack. The soundtrack's great in Doom and in Doom Eternal. And yeah, I don't know why Last of Us 2, it's the same audio that we experienced in the first one. So there's not really anything revolutionary that I saw in this one that we didn't. If this was The Last of Us 1, I would say the clickers and stuff and great. But, we've already experienced that. So cool. They reuse the same sounds that we experienced in the first Last of Us. Awesome.
Yeah, there's so many undeserving awards going to Last of Us right now. I couldn't agree with you more about Ghost, completely being better audio wise.
They probably
It's
suffer from the
just-
same thing we do. We have too many Ghost fanboys on our side, and they have too many Last of Us fanboys on their side.
That's a good possibility.
There's no even balance out. The four of us are just hardcore Ghost fans. I mean, and I liked The Last of Us too. I don't think it was a horrible game, but it was an okay game. It wasn't bad. It wasn't amazing. It was somewhere between okay and good. You know, it was up there. It wasn't as good as Ghost. So that one, I don't know. I don't know, Russ, how you feel about that one?
This particular one here, with the audio, this is what I was trying to think. I was listening to you guys thinking. I was trying to make sure I word this correctly. Is it that we're fanboys of Ghost, or is it that we are so happy to see a different developer, a different game that worked everything that we wanted. We wanted an open world. We wanted side quests that matters. We wanted beautiful imagery. We wanted to slice people's heads off. Like all those things within that, and not only that, but have a story behind it. Whereas Last of Us 2 has a great story, and I know I'm kind of going off of the deep end here because it's best audio, but like when we talk about that, every little bit of everything, like the sounds from the leaves coming off the trees. Like, well, you want to talk about all the hack and slash stuff. What about that scene when he goes and he has to, and you're deciding whether or not that you're going to kill Lord Shumara? Like you're sitting there and you're like, well, do we kill him or not? You can hear the leaves in that. Come on now. How good of audio is that? How much better do you have to get?
Yeah, the whole fight scene under the Japanese maple tree.
Yeah.
With the
Oh,
leaves
God, yeah.
rustling when you're swinging the swords and the swords going through the leaves. Yeah.
Audio has to immerse you into a game. That's what makes best audio design. So exactly like what Russ was saying, Ghost of Tsushima immerses you in that moment, in those experiences with the audio design. Whereas Last of Us 2, I can't think of an audio cue that just like had me so intense, right? Not that the gameplay didn't, but when thinking of audio, nothing comes to mind in Last of Us 2 where I'm like, oh man, if the audio wasn't great here, I wouldn't have gotten that experience. Whereas Ghost of Tsushima, there's several instances of that.
Just in Ghost alone, I'm sorry for cutting, but like to think about that, how many times did we do a standoff? How many times did you do a standoff going into a quest or going into whatever? You do a standoff, and it's like you've never done a standoff before every time you do it. Now, admittingly, as you get really, really gone far in the game, you start to get your timing down and everything like that. But I'm ready. I've got that freaking triangle button mashed to, the other side of the world, waiting to hear the not only not only to see it, but also to visually hear it. And the timing, if the timing is off on any of that sound or anything, then us as the gamer are going to get punished. Well, it doesn't do that, and it comes out every time. And shoot, what was it? The first time I think we played. I told you all the first time we played, and I played in killed the warlord the very first off, and it was when you got ghost form.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had goosebumps from the back of my neck to my spine because of the sound of hearing that guy's head slice off. I was like, oh, I mouth dropped, the whole 9 yards. So it is hard. I'm trying to keep cool because we want to keep the level head when we're talking about all these words, but it's so hard when Last of Us 2, it's mostly dialogue. Yes, the gunshots and everything sound realistic, but come on now, how many games do realistic gunshots? Let's move on here. But anyway, I'll stop here. Sorry about that, Nick.
Yeah, but yeah, best audio design in Ghost of Tsushima.
Easily.
Yeah. So best score in music was the next one, and I will say that I'm pretty much in agreement with this one. Final Fantasy VII Remake beat out all of its competitors. I didn't play Hades, so I can't tell you the score on that one. How good that one was compared to it. But I played Ori, I played Last of Us Part 2, and I don't remember the music in Last of Us Part 2 as a score, so I don't think that one was very memorable. And then Doom Eternal, that's a toss-up between me. Final Fantasy VII Remake and Doom Eternal, on score is a toss up for me. But I'm good enough seeing that win because I could still hear Barrett every time you win a battle sing the Final Fantasy theme. Dun,
Dun, dun, dun, dun, dun, dun.
so
Yeah, I would hate to say it, but I would give it to Doom. I think Doom's just everything about Doom was so fantastic over the top, and that's right there with the music. It's just to me that's a no-brainer. I would throw definitely Doom at number one, Final Fantasy right below it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Patrick. I'd throw Final Fantasy right in number one as the winner, and it did win.
I throw you under the bus. Hell no.
Again, I mean, that music is nostalgic, in one sense. But, when I think of Final Fantasy in general, One Winged Angel comes to my mind as far as music. And, of course, that music track is in the Final Fantasy VII Remake because of Sephiroth. And, that audio score is always something that always pops into my head. And the victory, fanfare, dun, 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 all that stuff, the battle music, it's all very nostalgic and stuff I remember. So they redid it in the orchestral score and it sounds fantastic. And yeah, and Doom Eternal would be my second, right behind it because I love the music. And
well, I respect you guys. You're both wrong.
Cool. Russ?
I just say, okay, sure. I mean, the sound and stuff like that. I mean, the music, I should say, and the score. I didn't get it. I didn't play Final Fantasy VII Remake. I know that's sacrilegious. Everybody, please forgive me. And I played just a little bit of Doom Eternal. Aura, that one's really nice. I mean, that's beautiful music. It's a beautiful game. But the nostalgia probably and the orchestral portion of all Final Fantasy, I mean, pretty much I'll be like, yeah, you're right, probably, because Final Fantasy, I can't think of any soundtrack that is bad.
Cool. So then the next one was Best Art Direction, and that one was the winner. Winner of that was Ghost of Tsushima. It beat out Final Fantasy VII Remake, Hades, Ora and the Will of the Wisps, and The Last of Us Part 2. I would agree with that one. Art in that one was beautiful. I mean, we just talked about the whole scene under the Japanese maple tree. I just can't get that imagery out of my head when you're fighting. And then I would probably put Ori right behind there because Ori and the Will of the Wisp was a gorgeous game.
Oh God, it's just beautiful to look at. There's no argument there. I don't think any of us could argue against that one.
Right?
Yeah,
maybe Nick.
I would agree with Patrick. I mean, I think Ghost of Tsushima and Ori right behind it. I mean, Ori's a absolutely gorgeous game. I mean, as far as like if it was best beautiful looking game, Ori would probably win in that aspect because it's just the backdrops and everything are just amazing looking. But Ghost of Tsushima had some really awesome areas with with leaves falling and the big the grass fields and everything, and with the wind blowing through, it was an absolutely beautiful game. So yeah,
right.
The opening scene where you're on the horse and you're going through the white flowers or the blue flowers, whatever you want to call them there. I mean,
when it first opens up into the big field.
The blossoms. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I won't go off on a tangent this round.
All right, and we're on to Best Narrative, and the game that won that one was Last of Us Part 2. It beat out 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades. I don't know on this one. I didn't play 13 Sentinels, so I can't really speak to that one or Hades, so I don't know the narrative on those. But the Final Fantasy narrative, I mean, that game has got a lot of it, and it's a great narrative. The narrative in Ghost of Tsushima was good, but I would say all the other things in Ghost of Tsushima were way better than the narrative. The story was compelling. I will agree. The story was compelling. I remember the story. I can recite the story. But Final Fantasy had the narrative down, in my opinion. Last of Us 2, the narrative felt backwards to me. It felt like the game played out backwards, so I don't think that should have won, in my opinion. The narrative seemed backwards.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that I don't think Last of Us 2, I mean, yeah, exactly what you said. I think the narrative was backwards. I mean, I think it the storytelling and stuff, it seemed it needed to be flip flopped or something. It just didn't seem right playing as Abby during the second half. Ghost of Tsushima is a great story, great game. So is Final Fantasy. I love the story in that. I wish it was more complete, but this is just part one of it, which is still a great story in part one. So this is really, and I haven't played 13 Sentinels. I have it kind of. It's under the Christmas tree, but I already know that because Vivian bought it for me. But so I'll figure that one out during Christmas time. But anyway, yeah, and Hades is, the narrative's okay, but I definitely wouldn't stuck it in there as far as narrative. I think the gameplay and the dungeon crawling is a lot better than the narrative in that game. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Last of Us 2. The story was good for the first half, and then it just dropped the ball right in the middle and towards the end. And yeah, don't get me started on the story of that game because you're gonna hear me be angry about it. But if I were to guess of one being the best narrative for me personally, I would say it's Ghost of Tsushima for me on that one.
I was about to divorce you, but very good choice. Ghost to me was far better narrative than any of the others on the list that I have played. Final Fantasy was just filler. It had of the story that was there, of the actual story was good. It was very good, but there was too much filler go along with it.
Stop browbeating the game because you don't like the B scene.
Okay, the B scene was like my favorite scene.
He doesn't like the B side.
He didn't like Cloud's B side.
He didn't like the honeybee.
But no, Ghost of Tsushima to me far and away was the better story out of any of those.
Cool, Russ, you on the same page as that?
Pretty much, but I do want to add this. I don't want somebody to be rewarded for trying to do something so different and so new with a storied franchise and ruin the story for a majority of their audience. Because we're not the only people out there that are actually annoyed with it. But there are those that love it or hate it, pretty much.
Right. I mean, there's people of all aspects. We just happen to be 4 people who don't enjoy it as much as we do other games. Because it's not in my hate list, and it's not in my, it's not in my I don't like this game. I wish I didn't play a game, or I would not play it. It's not in that list for me.
I mean, I know we're Ghost fanboys, but guys, I mean, this is a samurai that became a ninja, basically. I mean,
an assassin.
A ninja assassin, and like for those that don't know, that is a pretty big deal in that world. And then not only that, but like just the betrayal a part of it too. I mean, I know the betrayal can be old, but it felt new to me a little bit. Maybe it was because it was a polished game. I don't know. But anyway, I'm not going to argue with whatever they chose. I'm just going to say Last of Us 2 could have done more because I got to hear about it afterwards. But anyway.
Right. It could. I agree. I think Last of Us 2 would have been a much better game if they would have rearranged the storytelling. Because the second half of the game just made me not want to play the game. So, we've talked about that before. If they would have interwoven the 2 stories together where you played one and the other and just kind of back and forth them to the end, that would have been better. If we had played Abby first and then Ellie second, would have been much better as well. But we already hated Abby by the second half of the game, and I didn't want to play anything with her. So cool. So best narrative, yeah, we're a little bit off. I mean, most of you guys are Ghosts. I think the Final Fantasy VII narrative was better, but that's just my opinion. And probably because it was new to me. I didn't play the original, so the remake to me was new. And it's all new, and I was like, this is great. So,
that does make a difference. It really does.
Yeah, it was all fresh and new to me. So you guys already knew what happened and what happened even further because there's still more to the remake that needs to be put out. So the next one is best game direction. And, this lends more into my opinion of thinking that Game Awards panel of jurors or judges is Last of Us fanboys because Last of Us 2 won that as well. I don't understand how they won best game direction because it's supposed to be for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. in my opinion, Ghost of Tsushima waxed the floor on this one. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's open world game, yes, but the things that you can do in this game are not the same thing you can do in other games. I mean, and then when they added on the legend stuff and the multiplayer with this, it's a well-rounded game. So, Last of Us 2 beat out Half-Life Alyx, Hades, Ghost of Tsushima, and Final Fantasy VII Remake for best game direction. I don't see how Final Fantasy had a little bit of a leg to stand on here because they're remaking an already told story. So, the vision of the game, I guess, was that they changed the visuals and graphics around a little bit. I did not get to play Half-Life Alyx, or else I might change my opinion if I got to play that. So,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's the same thing I said with the last one, with the narrative. And yeah, exactly. Best game direction, creative vision and innovation. Last of Us Part 2 was pretty much the same as what we experienced in Part 1, which is not bad. Part 1 was good. But it was, as far as creative vision and innovation, I didn't really see anything innovative in Last of Us Part 2. It was pretty much the same as what we experienced in Part 1 as far as what you could and couldn't do throughout the game, as far as how it played and how its vision was, put out there. So
it was the same journey, but with just a different reasoning.
Right, exactly. Whereas I think Ghost of Tsushima, like Patrick said, it was a brand new, it was an open world game, but with a brand new experience. Exactly. One that we haven't played before. Last of Us Part 2 was just something we played before and got to experience again.
I just don't understand how a game can win basically the award of being the most gorgeous game put together, but then not be directed properly. So it's like it just doesn't make any sense. So it wins best art direction, but then it doesn't win best game direction. I don't know. It blows my mind why they would do that. The game was fluid.
Yeah, that was the super tight controls in Tsushima.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and not only that. If you want to go to it says innovation in game direction. Okay, so basically it was an open world that gave you paths to do multiple things. There's none of that in Last of Us 2. Like, you might be able to explore a small area, but it's linear.
Yeah, it's pretty linear.
And Ghost was like, I think one of the comments you said one time, and maybe even in the review of the game, or just us sitting around BSing about it, you said, I got lost on the side quest. I thought it was a story quest for like 2 hours. How can a side quest feel like a story quest and not have great direction or great feel for it?
And design,
I don't know. Anyway.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, for a game, I think they just suffer the same thing we do. We don't have a diverse grouping on these games. We don't have a diverse grouping opinion on these games. We sound like Ghost of Tsushima fanboys, and maybe we are. It was a great game, and it sounds, so it's hard for us to picture Last of Us 2 winning all these awards, and they probably have the opposite effect. They're all a bunch of Last of Us 2 fanboys, and they just can't see, outside of that, because they're just like, oh yeah, it's the greatest game ever made, whatever. And that's why it's opinions. It's always opinions, but I don't like that they don't do, we'll get into that towards the end of this, because we're at the last category. So we'll do Game of the Year. So Game of the Year should be no surprise after everything you've heard on this list. It was Last of Us 2. It beat out Animal Crossing New Horizons. Figured it would do that. It beat out Hades, of course. It beats out Doom Eternal, okay? It beat out Final Fantasy VII Remake, and most of all, it beat out Ghost of Tsushima. I will say that this is completely opposite than what was done on the People's Choice Award for the Game Awards. People's Choice Award was Ghost of Tsushima by 14%. It had 14% more votes than The Last of Us 2 did. And even on the Metacritic sites and all that, Ghost of Tsushima outranks by players Last of Us 2, but critics give Last of Us 2 more accolades than they do Ghost of Tsushima. So it's one of those things where the critics are out of touch with the reality of the gaming world and what gamers like in this aspect, in my opinion. But yeah, it beat out Ghost of Tsushima for Game of the Year. But the People's Choice for Game of the Year was Ghost of Tsushima. So, take it at what you will. What do you guys think of that? Last category, Game of the Year.
All right, I'll go first just because I'm just ticked off by it. Last of Us Part 2 should not have got 90% of the awards it got. Plain and simple. Ghost of Tsushima on the list, easily, in my opinion, and apparently a lot more people's opinions, was much better game overall. The Last of Us Part 2, there was a lot of nostalgia around it because the original was so fantastic. I mean, I played through it PS3, PS4. I'd probably play through the original again on the PS5 if, the PS5 actually existed. The Last of Us Part 2 was just, I went through, like I told you guys earlier, I went through and I looked at and listened to some of the reviews on it, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? There's no way these reviews are accurate. I honestly, and it's not to disparage anybody, but I honestly think the reviews were pushed towards those directions instead of genuinely being reviewed. I don't feel that game deserves half the praise it got. Like you guys said, the story should have been flipped. The back half should have been up front. That would have made the game probably a lot better, because by the time you get to the second half, you hate Abby's character so much, like you said, I'm done. I'm just done with her. I don't want to play with her. The graphics of the game are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. But we've seen almost all of those sceneries before, so really not a big deal. Really not. Ghost of Tsushima was unique. It was new. It was different. And out of all the games on the list, Ghost should have been lower to the bottom, in my opinion. Ghost should have had it easily, without a doubt. But that's my opinion. I'm still pretty ticked off that Last of Us got all the awards and accolades that it did. I don't think it's right. I think there's some BS, especially when the People's Choice chose different. Russ, what do you think before I start cursing?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say much more. I mean, really, this whole podcast has been kind of going towards that direction. And so I was like, I'm not going to say much. I was hoping Drunken Nick would come out. That is fantastic when that comes out and we hear the anger that there is in this pick for that. But, we'll see if he makes his return or not. Hey, when it comes down to it, fanboys or not, Last of Us was picked. Ghost of Tsushima was not. I'm disappointed in this game awards, but I know for me, I am going to put if let's say there was a DLC that came out for Last of Us 2, I would not buy it. Ghost can probably for the next 2 or 3 years bring they could bring out Kitty Land of Ghosts and I would buy it probably. I would probably buy anything there is for that. So just letting Sucker Punch know you got my money, keep throwing stuff out and I'll keep giving it to you like this level and just keep up the great work. So that's all I'm going to say about it.
Spoken like a true fanboy, Russ. And yeah, to get the Drunken Nick, it's hard to poke that bear. Nick is the most even-keeled person I've ever met in my life. And to see him get that worked out was pretty entertaining.
All right, Nick, fire away.
I'm surprised that Last of Us 2, well, kind of am, kind of not. I kind of expected Last of Us 2 to get Game of the Year just because that's how things go. I don't think it deserved it. I think Ghost of Tsushima was a much better game. And Last of Us 2, like Russ said, for Last of Us 2, I played through it, I beat it, and that's all I want to play of it. I don't have a inkling to ever play it again. I don't want to ever put it back in the PlayStation. Whereas Ghost of Tsushima, after playing through the story, they have New Game Plus, which I more than likely won't play through again. But like Russ said, they came out with Legends, the multiplayer expansion, that was awesome. If they came out with other DLC that expanded the story and stuff, I would probably pick it up and play through it because I enjoyed that game just a lot more. Like Last of Us 2, it just didn't do it for me. I love Last of Us 1, and I think we all do. I think we all really enjoyed the first one. And this one was just, through this game, through Last of Us 2, the first half as you play through Ellie was great. But once you started playing as Abby, they just didn't do a good job with that. And it wasn't just that, oh, I hate Abby type thing and, whatever. It was that they didn't do a good job of building that character and building that relationship between the player and Abby. Once you start playing as Abby, you don't like Abby. You don't care about Abby. You don't care about what she's going through and the struggles. Like, you could care less about that. It's because the beginning of the game makes you hate her so much, but by the time you get to play her, you just don't care. So I found that the second part of the game for me was, I'm just trying to get through it to finish the game. And that was it. Yeah, I think this game, falls behind in that, and that's where that best game direction and things like that go. I don't think this was the best direction, right? I don't think this was the greatest innovation or the best direction for this game. This game's story should have went a completely different way. Either by flip-flopping it where you play as Abby first and then go through hers and kind of learn that aspect of her, or the relationship between her and Joel and how all that stuff works out. Or maybe just an alternative story where you start out as Abby again and her band of people where they're just nomads. They're not a part of any sort of foundation or anything like that. And they're just, they learn about the city where Joel and them live, and, that kind of all plays out where they're trying to make it to the city. That would have been more engaging, I think, and you would have really grown to like Abby, even if they left in the part where, spoiler alert, where Abby kills Joel, even if they left that part in there and that whole revenge story towards the second half, I think that would have been fine. But the fact that you start out as Ellie, and then you grow to hate Abby, and then they make you play her, you're just like, I don't want to play this person. And that's where the story and the game really just falls to the wayside for me. Because once it got to that point, and that's halfway through the game, once it got to that point, I just didn't care to play anymore. It was just really just kind of getting through all right, let's just fast forward through this and finish this up. Because at that point, I didn't care to play it. So, yeah, I don't think it deserved Game of the Year. I think Ghost of Tsushima should have got Game of the Year, or really, for me, anything else on that list should have got Game of the Year besides that game.
So, whether you agree with it or not, it's, it is what it is. The Game Awards are not voted on by the people. I mean, we know that. I think they take like a 10% chunk of the people's votes on some things, but they are basically a jury of leading media and influencer outlets. So I don't know if I agree with this or not. I don't actually agree with this because, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of times critics are out of touch with gamers because either they're not gamers themselves or they're playing games because their job tells them to. They're not playing it for fun. We play games for fun. If I don't find a game fun, I'm not going to play it. I'm going to go on to the next thing because my time is precious. I'm not getting paid to review games. I'm not getting paid to talk about games. We talk about games because we love playing them and we play them. So my time to play games is precious and it's my time outside of my actual job that I have to do. So I'm not going to play something that I just don't find fun. So, whatever you agree with or not, but yeah, the Game Awards, in my opinion, are a little bit, they shouldn't be as weighed heavily by influencers and all that stuff because who cares? They're one person or they're a group of people that have their opinion, but you should be picking the gamers who say, I think this is a great game. Gamers are the one who buys the game to basically keep the studios afloat. So if gamers say, why would a group of gamers say that a game is better than a group of journalists? What's the difference here? Why is there a huge discrepancy here amongst gamers? Because if you look at a lot of the gamer specific reviews, they are opposite of what journalist reviews are for this game. So I don't get it. Why there's such a discrepancy here. So either they're getting paid for reviews, like somebody has said before, or they're just who knows what it is. But so I mean that's probably the negativity on the Game Awards. I mean there is the good side of the Game Awards, which we'll get into next. But does anybody else want to talk about anything about the Game Awards before we move on to the next category for the Game Awards?
It was a Tsushima got robbed. That's it.
That's the hashtag. Tsushima got robbed.
Tsushima got robbed.
Right.
Justice for Jin.
And now, the thing that sucks too, the last thing I'll say before we move on, is now Last of Us 2 will get to put that Game of the Year sticker on the front of their box when they release it.
Right. Resell that turd.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? Was that a Tommy Boy? He's like, I can put a guarantee on a box.
Oh, yeah.
I can grab a box and put a guarantee on it.
I could put a warranty on or stick my head up a bull's butt or some crap.
Yeah, he's like, I guarantee I can put that on a box. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, the game's as out, and it is what it is. I mean, we played both of them, and the four of us, which is kind of weird, I will say, the four of us are not always in agreement on a game because we all have different tastes, and it's one of those things where somebody will be in love with the game, and then the other one's like, it's okay. And then, it's like World War III here where everybody's arguing, but it's one of those games that all four of us have kind of fell for, and then all four of us don't have the same amount of love for Last of Us 2, which is kind of rare. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Now, let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah, let's get to the premieres and then the actual video game updates that we got into. Well, I guess let's let Russ start this one because Russ doesn't speak up as much. Russ and Nick need to talk a little bit more. Russ, what was some of the premieres or basically some of the bigger announcements during the Game Awards that you were super interested in?
Well, I refuse to take anything particular away from you, but I will talk about a couple. Ruined King, the League of Legends story. It may look a little basic, a little nervous about that, but I am very excited about that. As it has been mentioned before, I did play some League of Legends back in the day and back in my younger years and stuff like that. But for me, it's just I love the stories for those guys. It's going to be exciting to see Miss Fortune again. That's really cool. That's one that I'm really, really looking forward to. Of course, Perfect Dark is an excitement one for Nick. Back for Blood, that's going to be a great one for us as a 4-player co-op. That's really exciting. It's really nice to see. We had a couple of 3 co-op games it looked like in here that we have possibilities of playing. So that's kind of a nice thing to see for us. But those two there, the Back for Blood and the League of Legends games are the 2 big ones for me. I'm going to leave a couple of the other ones. I'm just going to preface this much by saying a couple of games that Patrick will mention are games that I'm very, 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 very much looking forward to as well. So I'm going to pass it to Nick and see if he has something to add to that.
Yeah. Like Russ said, Perfect Dark, is the initiative, that studio that Microsoft kind of put together of all the top tier programmers and designers and various things from different gaming areas in the gaming world have come together to make this one studio, and they're making Perfect Dark, which is awesome. I mean, we really didn't see much but a kind of CG trailer, but that's cool that they're making Perfect Dark. I'm excited for that. The last Perfect Dark wasn't great. Project Zero on the 360, it was actually quite bad, but hopefully, the first Perfect Dark was great, so hopefully, they come out with a really cool Perfect Dark game. So I'm excited to see what that game turns into. Like Russ said, Back for Blood, that looks awesome. That's made by Turtle Rock, who made Left 4 Dead. So, it's pretty much Left 4 Dead, except for I don't think they can use the name Left 4 Dead anymore. I think Valve owns that name or that type of game, or that the name and the properties for that. So that's why they came back with Back for Blood, but it's pretty much the same thing. So excited for that. That'll be fun to play with all of us together. And again, I know I don't want to take all the thunder from everybody. One of the ones that I really thought looked pretty cool was the Callisto Protocol. I think that's what it's called. This, again, was only a CG trailer, but it is made from the person that made Dead Space. And so it looks very Dead Spacey. So I'm hoping it's sci-fi aliens or monsters or demons or whatever it was that they were showcasing in the CG trailer. Looked really cool. And, again, it was just a CG trailer, but I'm excited to see what that turns into and hope it's more in kin with Dead Space, because I love Dead Space. So hopefully that turns out to be very Dead Spacey in that sense. Another one, too, was the Evil Dead game. They did showcase an Evil Dead game. Looked like a 4-player co-op game, from what I could tell. So that's really cool. I'm hoping that it looked like a kind of a top-down twin stick shooter. That's kind of what it looked like, 4-player. So I'm hoping that turns out to be pretty good. We won't know for sure. I can't remember if that one was just a CG trailer or did they show some gameplay. I think it was just all CG, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of CG.
Yes.
But I call Bruce Campbell. I'm playing Ash. You guys can play as other people. I'm playing the Chin himself.
But that looks really cool. So, I'm excited to see what they come of that. It's been a long time since we've had an Evil Dead game, so it's kind of nice to see a new one come out. And then I'll go ahead and finish mine up with what do we got here? I won't, like I said, I won't steal the thunder away from everything. So we'll just go with the Swedish Chef is coming to Overcooked.
I knew you were going to do that one.
He won, didn't you know? Swedish Chef won.
Yeah,
an award.
he did win.
You heard.
It was pretty funny to see the Swedish Chef on there, and he did a little thing where it looked like he won an award, or he acted like he won an award, but he's just coming to Overcooked, and so that's cool. Overcooked is a fun game, so that's kind of funny to see. I hope they have some centric Swedish Chef recipes and stuff, like rubber chicken and everything that you can cook in that. But yeah, that's really cool to see. So. But that's all I'll go with. There was a lot of other premieres that happened, so I don't know. Shane, what did you think? What were some of the highlights for you?
I was really excited to see The Perfect Dark. I'm happy they're bringing it back. I'm hoping they will do keep the feel, the love of the original, but don't follow any of the bull from the 360 version. But I'm really excited for that one. Back 4 Blood, as soon as I saw that, I was just, I was just so excited because we had so much fun playing that. Just it's such a great concept on the Left 4 Dead's, and I'm just excited to do it again. The Callisto Protocol was, like you were saying, I've got lots of hopes for it because that trailer really made me want to play this game because the creature design from it was just so, try not to say the bad word, but I'm going to say it's badass. It was so good. But the one that probably caught me the most was the It Takes Two. It's a co-op game. It's the one where you're a couple, something happens, and then you both wake up, and you're like claymation. And you have to complete all the stuff for whatever reason. Yeah, and you're shrunk down, and it just looks fantastic. And it's also made by the same guys who made A Way Out, the game where you and the guy go to prison, you escape, and it's about revenge. Great game. If you've never played A Way Out, play it. It's fantastic. That one there was probably the one that got me the most excited. There were some other games that they announced and talked about a little bit. A bunch of Fortnite skins, junk like that. You can play like Master Chief now. I think a couple of the characters from Walking Dead. Yippee. I'm really not into it, so it's hard for me to get excited by it. But the trailer that probably gave everybody the most holy crap moment was for Sephiroth in Smash Brothers. You look up the video, it is great because it looked like he skewered Mario, which everybody's like, holy crap.
Sephiroth Mario.
Exactly. Luigi was like, I've been trying for years. But that was probably the trailer that that really made me go, holy crap.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool trailer.
It was. It was definitely went to a dark place for a second. But yeah, I really enjoyed a lot of what we saw as far as the announcements of the coming soon stuff. I'm really excited for several of the things we saw. Probably out of all of it, the Back 4 Blood and the It Takes Two is probably the two things I'm most excited about, just because I'm a co-op guy. I love co-op stuff, and I love good stories. A Way Out was a fantastic story, and I'm hoping It Takes Two will be just as good. What about you, Pat?
So I was surprised, Shane, that you didn't mention your two favorite games that were out. We Are OFK. I thought you might want to play that one. You know, they performed during the Game Awards, but I thought you were wanting to play that one. And then
No, never, ever.
And then
the
sequel to your Road to Guangdong games, Road 96 and Open Roads. I figured those would be high on your list.
Yeah, because, when I think of fun and excitement in a video game, I think of road trips with Grandma.
Right? They look interesting, little storytelling games. Those would be.
They do look interesting, and I bet it's probably one of those will probably be a game you'll jump into and be, holy crap, this is actually really fun.
Right.
One of them probably will be.
So I will say, the Back 4 Blood looked really cool. I'm more co-op games, the better. We all enjoy co-op, and we want to play more co-op games. But there's two games on the list that I figured you guys were saving for me because they're in my wheelhouse. So they were basically a new Dragon Age is being announced. Yep. We don't know when it'll be out, but they basically brought out a little CGI trailer. There was nothing gameplay or anything like that. So it's just who knows when that's coming out. But Dragon Age, that one got me, and then I was really surprised that they were basically bringing back the Mass Effect series. When we were watching the trailer, I'm like, that's a destroyed Mass Effect relay. And going through there, and I'm like, no way. So that one is just a announcement trailer with no dates or anything like that. So I was super excited to see that because last I heard they were shelving the franchise. So I'm really glad to hear that they're trying to do something with that. Hopefully they make it right with fans and EA keeps their fingers out of it and lets BioWare do what BioWare does without EA breathing down their neck.
Yeah.
Nick was a little disappointed in the Evil West trailer because he was hoping it was going to be a different game, but I thought that looked interesting.
Yeah, that was a theme to the to all the announcements. Is there were several zombie type mashers. There was that one. There was the Evil Dead. There was the Dead. The heck's the other one called again?
Back 4 Blood.
Back 4 Blood, yeah. And then there was one more, wasn't there, Russ? Because you pointed out, it's like, holy crap, there's a lot of these.
There was a lot. Evil Dead, and then Back 4 Blood. What else was it? I mean, there was another one. I'm trying to think about it. Was it Outlanders? Maybe a little bit. Maybe that was more monsters than it was. But it was all kind of the same thing. It was all, like you said, it's all these mashers kind of games. So still though, there's quite a few games that came out. I mean, I was letting Patrick try to talk about Mass Effect and Dragon Age, those two big ones, definitely for sure. And I'm kind of interested to see what comes of Arc 2. I mean, I'm just curious to see what comes of that. I mean, we did have some fun with Arc.
Yep. And who gets to play Vin Diesel?
Not it.
Arm wrestle for it.
Yeah, he's going to be in a Charger driving all the dinos over.
The whole time while that was going on, we were all like, it's Turok. No, it's this. No, it's that. It's this. And then they're like, Arc 2. And we're all like, Arc 2? What?
Yeah, and one of you made a really terrible Paul Walker joke.
Nick, I was really surprised you didn't mention the Nier Replicant game. I figured that would be high on your list.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, they showed off Nier Replicant. It comes out April, I think.
Yeah, we already knew about that one, but it's just good to see some gameplay trailers.
They showed some gameplay of it, and that I'm excited for that one for sure.
And then I thought that Century Age of Ashes looked pretty good.
Was that 4-player medieval
Dragon Battle one? That was the Dragon Battle.
Oh, that's the Dragon Battle one. Okay, yeah.
It would definitely be worth a playthrough. The game that you're thinking of is that game Crimson Desert, which I said reminds me of Black Desert.
The Hood Outlaws and Legends.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
That was the one with the 4-player, like you're kind of like I don't know,
Robin Hood.
Yeah, that was actually one that looked kind of cool. That's right. Yeah.
Russ is Little John.
I bet you he's gonna have the best. I bet she's gonna have the best skills.
He'll have the
I'm gonna
best staff of all.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. It'll be the biggest staff.
Nick's Friar Tuck.
But there was just, I mean, that thing was just chocked full of game reviews. It was so hard to keep
Right. And they showed off a new Warhammer too, the Dark Tide.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. And then also they're basically putting together like a final cut of Disco Elysium, which is supposed to be fully voiced, which would be great.
Yes,
Yeah, and even though they showed only PlayStation on that trailer, it is coming to Xbox as well.
Awesome. But yeah, I mean, there was just so many. The It Takes Two was a surprising trailer because at first I was writing it off, like Shane said, and then I was starting to watch it more and more, and I'm like, oh, this is actually looking pretty good. And so, that was interesting. The season game looks kind of cute. I don't know what to think of that one yet. Endless Dungeon was okay. But yeah, there was just so many games in there. I'm trying to think of any of the other ones. There's Scavengers in there. Just so many. There's so many. The Game Awards is like always, just tons of trailers. But the bigger ones we've already mentioned that we were really, really surprised about. So I think everybody was really. Honestly, I was writing off the Smash Brothers one too until the Sephiroth and they started showing all the combat, and I'm like, oh, that looks pretty cool. So
yeah, the Sephiroth trailer was pretty cool. I mean, just seeing him in Smash, that's a surprise. I think maybe all of us have Smash or some of us have Smash Brothers on Switch, and it's a pretty fun fighting game, but it's not one that I usually play the extra characters or buy the extra character packs for. And unfortunately for me, Sephiroth's not going to be in one I'm going to because I just don't play Smash enough for that. But if they came out with an Ultimate Edition that just had all the characters in it, or some little pack that you could buy that had all the characters in it that was pretty cheap, I might pick it up to play some of the other ones like Sephiroth and stuff.
Right. Cool. Yeah, you guys mentioned the Callisto Protocol. That looks like a little horror survival game. I don't know what to think about that one.
Did you ever play Dead Space?
I did not.
Go back and play it because it's still a solid game.
Oh, it doesn't look that good, so.
Dead Space was the first two were fantastic. When they brought in the co-op, it lost the magic that made it Dead Space. But it was still a fun game, but it just didn't feel quite like Dead Space. But it is a survival game. It's a horror game straight up, so.
Right. They also talked about, Elite Dangerous Odyssey. I think Nick thought that one looked pretty good. I'm not sold on the Elite Dangerous series. I didn't much care for the first one.
That did look interesting. Which one had you're flying the dragon?
That one was the Ashes one.
That one looked really interesting.
Age of Ashes, Centuries Age of Ashes.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of Lair.
I was thinking.
And you guys, I'm surprised Nick didn't mention the Ghosts and Goblins one.
Oh my God, Nick didn't.
I didn't. No, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, they're coming out with the Capcom Arcade Collection in February, I believe. And it's a free download. And they're remaking or reimagining. It's more like a redesign, I guess.
It's a new one.
Yeah, it's a remake.
Is it a remake? I thought they're making a new one.
I believe it's an actual remake.
Yeah, because the levels they showed off looked like the levels from the older ones, so it didn't look like anything new, but it was redesigned like 3D because the other ones were more 2D
flat
aspect.
2D
and this was all 3D,
yeah.
Right? Well, 3D sprites and stuff. So I don't know if they have new levels or new things in there, but still, yeah, they're remaking or redoing or whatever.
Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection.
Yeah, they're doing something to it. So I'm all excited for that.
Right, yeah. So that was an interesting one. I think that was pretty much most of what we were really, really interested in. I mean, Returnal didn't seem that interesting to me. I don't know about you guys.
Not really.
And then a new ES. What's that?
What was the one you just said called?
Returnal.
I don't remember that one.
don't remember Returnal. It was kind of a weird looking. The chick had like a space helmet on, and it looked kind of space-ish.
Oh, yeah, that's the one on the PlayStation 5, right?
Yeah, the psychological horror, the fictional.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, we'll have to see. I'll have to see more of that. I mean, they did show gameplay off, but I think it kind of shows that I don't even remember the game you were talking about.
Right.
So,
And then obviously they showed more gameplay trailer for Oddworld, the Abe series, the game in the Abe series.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Abe's Odyssey and I like Abe games, so that one. I mean, they've shown gameplay a lot of that one, so really it's just kind of for me for that game. It's just when's it coming out?
Right.
Yeah.
And then the Nintendo Switch Monster Hunter Rise, coming out for the Switch.
Monster Hunter we all enjoy on Xbox.
But the Rise is going to be a little bit different, designed specifically for
the Switch.
Yeah.
Just because there's a huge power difference. But I have to say, it looked interesting. I don't know if it's going to have the co-op and everything.
I mean, it probably will. I mean,
I think it's supposed to have the co-op and everything. It's kind of like their other Monster Hunter series. They had one that was more like anime-ish, kind of cartoonish like this one is, and I can't remember what it was called, Monster Hunter something. So it kind of reminds me of those, and those are pretty much the same as the regular Monster Hunter, except they're more like cartoony. So yeah, it looks cool. It sucks that it's for Switch because I think of all of us, we don't really play Switch too much. So
we all own one.
we all own one, but we don't play them too often.
Right. And then ESO is coming out with Gates of Oblivion expansion. And then Scarlet Nexus, that was the JRPG that they were showing off.
Yeah, there was also the what's the desert? Gray Desert.
Crimson Desert. That was the one that
Desert,
I said looks like Black Desert online.
It's made by the same people.
Is it?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's made by Pearl Abyss, who makes Black Desert. So it's PvP. I think 4-player brawler or something like that. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's something along those aspects. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one to see.
Right.
How it comes out.
And then I thought I wasn't for sure if this one, the Thunder Tier 1, was a co-op one, but it looked like it might be a co-op one.
I don't remember that one at all.
Remember Thunder Tier? That was the top-down top-down shooter. Well, I think we were all saying that it looked a lot like Brotherhood or Band of Brothers or whatever. But yeah, it's got some co-op modes and stuff in it, so that one looks like it might. I think that was a PC only one too, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember that one.
You remember that one?
I don't.
Thunder Tier 1. That one was on there, but yeah, I think most people didn't remember that one because it was a PC only. And then obviously the next Medal of Honor, that was a VR only game. Everybody got excited for it until we all realized it was VR only. So
probably why we all forgot to mention it.
Yeah, so I mean, lots of games announced and lots of trailers for additional gameplay at Game Awards, which is mostly why we watch the Game Awards, I think, in my opinion. I usually want to watch a condensed version of it, because I don't often agree with their choice of awards, which it's opinions. So, but with games, I mostly want to see the trailers and the new announcements and the world premieres and stuff like that. So. Watch through that quite long Game Awards for mostly just the trailers and announcements.
And this one was a little bit more exciting with a couple of these titles than we've had in the last 6 months, especially considering, we were having 2 brand new consoles dropping. We were like, where's the games? We were only getting little tidbits of games here and there. And now we've kind of crossed that abyss and we're starting to get, I mean, I'm sure a couple of these games that we saw today are a year out or 8 months out or whatever, but at least there's something to look forward to, whereas we really didn't have much, or at least we weren't sure what was going on in the gaming world until, a couple of these dropped. So, I mean, thankful for that, that's for sure.
Right. Yep.
I was the awards themselves were a disappointment, but the announcements made that 3 hours go by a lot better.
For sure. Yep. Agreed. So definitely, that's what I watched it for this year because I was not in agreement with their award selection, but they're not every year. this year was probably a tough year for them. There was a couple of really good games, and some years we just don't have a lot of competition for game of the year. So it's
That's
a little
true.
easier than others. But this year was a tough battle. I will give them that, but I'm not in agreement with their picks. But to each their own, right?
Yeah, and another year where, Sony's standalone titles are really shining. I mean, we all know, we've all said it in our own way that we are definitely we love our Xbox because we love the co-op, but we have PlayStations for the standalones. It sure would be nice if Microsoft could kind of do that. They have a couple of really good franchises. It would be nice if they could make a comeback on some of that, make it kind of more competitive for that sake.
Well, yeah, when you think about it, 4 of the 6 games in the Game of the Year running was exclusives, and 3 of them were PlayStation only exclusives.
Yep.
Animal Crossing: New Horizons on Nintendo, and then Ghost, Final Fantasy VII, and The Last of Us are PlayStation only.
Yeah. So it was just an overall kind of ending thought that I had as we were talking about it all. Is I mean, thank God for their standalone titles because they are really, really good. But Xbox hopefully can make can bridge that gap a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, they've got a lot of new studios, a lot of great talent under their belt. Now it's time to see what they're going to do.
Yep, Microsoft needs to buy a Japanese studio next, right? And buy a studio. Over Japan.
Everybody's been rumoring the whole Sega thing.
That would be interesting for Microsoft to buy Sega.
I would be surprised.
Me too.
But I want to see them just completely, dump the wallet, just go Square Enix.
that would be such a upset to everybody if Microsoft bought Square Enix. But it would be a boom for Microsoft because then they just start releasing everything Square Enix on Microsoft.
Oh, you want Final Fantasy?
Their backlog.
Oh.
Well, I'm talking about their backlog too, for that matter.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
I would like.
Yeah, I definitely want to see them acquire a good Japanese company.
I would just rather start to see everything coming to everything. So.
Yeah, I agree.
True.
But you do have to have those exclusives.
One console
by your company, not paying somebody. Hey, come on, just put it over here. It's like Street Fighter when we were talking about it. Being over on Sony exclusively really hurt it. I mean,
yep.
It's sad because a game like that is not meant to be an exclusive title.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, it's sometimes exclusivity hurts them and sometimes it doesn't. I mean, there's games, like I said before, I only bought my PlayStation 4 when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, and I bought it for that. So then I started playing all the backlog of, because I don't know, when did that come out? PlayStation had been out for 2 years at that point, maybe?
I think it released in what was it?
God, was that 13?
That game came out in 2017. I thought Horizon Dawn was out in 2017.
Oh, Horizon? Oh, yeah, that was 17, 16, something like that.
Yeah.
February 28th, 2017.
Boom.
And then how long had PlayStation 4 been out? Because I didn't buy one until then.
God. The thing came out in 13, didn't it?
Yes, came out in November 15, 2013.
So it took that game before I bought me a PlayStation 4. And then I went back and borrowed a bunch of physical copies of PlayStation games from Nick so I can play through the catalog. Play through a bunch of stuff, My PlayStation came with the remastered version of Last of Us, so that's what got me hooked on the Last of Us series.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Right. Cool. Well, any other trailers anybody else wants to bring up or anything they're excited about?
No, I was excited to see the variety, and I'm just looking forward to some new games.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that during the show, a game called Shady Part of Me released during it.
Oh yeah,
that watercolor graphics, shadowy game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what it was, but that did release with that showing, so that is out now. So maybe that might be something to check out.
Yeah, it's like a little storytelling platform puzzle game.
Yeah. So,
So,
just throw that out there. Oh,
Yep.
and Arc 2 is getting a cartoon.
yep, animated series. I will
yeah.
check it out.
And that had a lot of pretty big names in there.
It had Vin Diesel.
It had Vin Diesel, Gerard Butler,
You named it.
dang.
Kurt Russell was in there, or Russell Crowe. Sorry, Kurt
Russell Crowe.
Russell
Yeah.
Crowe.
Kurt
Yeah.
Russell. Hey, he might be in there. You never know.
Kurt Russell's in everything.
Yeah,
That's right.
that's true.
Elliot
Arsenio-
Page is in there.
Arsenio
David
Hall.
Tennant. We're just gonna start bringing everybody in. You know, I think. I think just everybody.
Rocky and Bullwinkle, they were going to be there. Cheech and Chong.
Richard Pryor's coming back for this one. You guys know
Yeah,
that one?
they brought him back. Him and Jim Varney, you know,
Mhm.
Ernest.
Yep, Ernest, he's back.
Ernest P. Worrell.
He's no longer scared.
No.
He's
He
scary
finished
now.
school. He finished the army. Now he's back in prehistoric times.
And of
What
course,
I mean,
Pauly
man?
Shore.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
But he
Pauly
needs
Shore,
a job.
He brings back Encino Man with him. You know,
Yep.
Brandon Fraser.
Oh, and Brendan Fraser.
Encino
Yeah.
DLC.
Brendan Fraser's been out of the limelight for a while. It's time for him to come back in an animated Arc 2 game.
Right? Alongside of his pal. You gotta start wheezing the juice again. Let me show you how to wheeze the juice. So, cool.
I'm about to go back and watch some of the thirds.
Love some of those movies. So, anybody else got anything else they want to talk about for the Game Awards before we call this one done?
Let's get
I
to
want an
releasing some games.
investigation. I want an
You want an
investigation of those awards.
We're calling this a bad, they did not win. That's not my game of the year.
That's not my game of the year award.
That's the hashtag. Not my game of the
Yeah.
year. I didn't vote for that.
Hell no.
All right, guys. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody listening and tuning into this episode. We hope to catch you on the next episode.